So for the past 4 Sundays, we have extended the following invitation. You are cordially invited to let 2024 be the year that you awaken, truly awaken to the life of beauty and wonder that Spirit has already instilled in each and every one. And then I asked, what would happen if you RSVP'd yes to that invitation? Yes to being fully awake and present to the life, just as it is, right here, right now. Fully awake and present to who you are in every moment. Fully awake and present to what brings you joy, right here, right now. And fully awake to the present life that you are creating. Because we always are creating with our thoughts, with our emotions, and with our words. We create constantly. Fully awakened and present to God's grace, that givingness of the divine, which is always giving us whatever it is that we could ever desire and so much more. Fully awake and present, even in the middle of the wake. If you remember last week, I had a little issue with the wake because I kept saying, awake. And it was awaken. I'm just going into this for you. It was awaken. The whole entire service, the talk was about awaken. And for some reason, I didn't say the wake. You know what I mean with the water, the wake, the water. I kept saying a wake. Anyway, you had to be here. It was pretty funny. Everybody was laughing. It was funny. But anyway, so I want to back up. I want to back up to the very first Sunday. It was actually the last Sunday in December the 31st that I began this series. This is the last of 4. And we talked about the 4 stages of consciousness, of evolution. The 4 stages, if you will, of the kingdom. This is all Michael Beckwith came up with, these 4 stages when he did his visioning set, if you happen to have that. I don't even know how long ago, about 18 or 20 years ago. Really powerful stuff. But before we do that, I have a couple of thoughts. Before we back up. I want us to really deepen into these, not the first 3 stages as much as the last stage of being, of consciousness, of evolution, kingdoms of being. The why, well, let me go over what they are. The first one is the why me, or the mortal. And you know when someone says why me, that's victim consciousness. That's when we're in the stuff. We're just down here in the stuff. That's the first stage of consciousness. The second is by me, or the metaphysician. That's when we are learning to wake up and know that we are so much more than what we ever thought we were. And then it's the through me stage, or the mystic stage. And last, as me, and that's the master stage. And that's what I want to get in today. I want to explore the as me, the master kingdom, just a little bit more. You know, that's the one we don't think that we can really be or even aspire to be. That's the Buddha consciousness. That's the Christ consciousness. And I say, why not? Why can't we be all those things? We were born into this realm of experience as gods. Each and every one of us. We have every single aspect of the divine within us. Why can't we? Why can we not be masters of our own lives? Why not? It's there. We just have to let it in, awaken to it. And as we awaken to it, I want us to really deepen into a life that we live in a conscious space, a conscious union with the divine. And we can do this when we wake up to the truth of who we are, with no thoughts of separation. the way to be. When we're in meditation, we're usually in that state. But can you imagine if we just took that into our lives, like all the time, or most of the time? We can. No self-judgment. It's a big one. No self-judgment. Self-recrimination, self-doubt. None of that is in this master stage. And this is really what Ernest Holmes was talking about on page 33 of the Science of Mind book, The Thing Itself, when he wrote, "There is that within every individual which partakes of the nature of the universal wholeness and is God. That is the meaning of the word Emmanuel, the meaning of the word Christ. There is that within us which partakes of the nature of the divine being. And since it partakes of the nature of the divine being, we are divine. Each and every one of us." So when someone asks, "How are you today?" just say, "I am divine, thank you." I am divine, because that would be the absolute truth of who everyone is. We are each one divine. From the Book of Awakening by Mark Nepo, which I've been quoting a lot this month, he writes this: "Perhaps being awake is paying attention to the ongoing moment of life that we so often take for granted. That moment, like conception of a seed cracking open, that is happening even as you read this. Yet as the headlights get film on them by driving through all kinds of weather, the gift of which we perceive gets covered by experience, and our ability to see is diminished until we clean the gift. This is a lifelong process that never ends but always begins. So the care," this is still Mark Nepo, "so the care of one's being is imperative and continuous, as simple and as hard as wiping the residue of experience from your mind and heart, letting the original face again light the way through, like scratching the middle of your back. We often need each other to regain our sense of oneness. That's why we are here, in community. It is the most important thing in my life to be here in community, to be reminded of that divinity that is not only within me, but is with everyone, because there is only one present. There is only a oneness, a unity of all that is. And we are so unified with the infinite. That's who we are. We are all gods, each and every one of us. It's absolutely brilliant, and I love it. And we're here, that's why we take classes, to remind ourselves, to sit down and do the reading over and over again. All the spiritual masters have come to the same conclusion. There truly is only one presence. And we are all a part of it, having this human experience, whatever it might look like. Whatever it might look like. I remember teaching the class, it's been a while now, Roots. It's been a while since we did that class. We gotta do Roots again. Taught that many times, and we do the readings of Ralph Waldo Emerson, Thomas Troward, and Emma Curtis Hopkins. 3 brilliant teachers of New Thought. The last time I taught that class was a while ago, but I still remember a couple of the passages from Emma Curtis Hopkins. And one passage in particular relates to what we are speaking about. And it's about getting the film off of the headlight. So she writes this in Scientific Christian Mental Practice. "You may often wonder why the truth student who claims to believe the doctrine of no sin, no sickness, no death, in other words, no separation, does not immediately show peaceful, satisfied conditions. Suppose the rain and dust have beaten against the plate glass windows until they are very dirty. Do you think the mere cessation of the rain and the dust will make the windows clean? So it is for the mind that is covered with years of habitual imaginations. It ceases from imaginations, but practice daily washings of dust of years that have gone by must be made. This does not make the imagination, which would be the mistaken beliefs about life, a reality, but explains how real they seem to us, how real our thoughts seem to us. We truly believe, I know I do, I make it up in my head. It's not even true. I don't even know where I got it from, but here it is, and this is my belief. And I believe this, and it's not even true. It's not. The only thing that is true is that we are beings of the divine, and we are having a human experience. So it's constantly, this is why awakening to the spiritual truth is so important, because it is continuous cleaning of our thoughts, of our words, of our actions, of everything, who we are. Just constantly clearing away and allowing that goodness, that love to shine forth, our brilliance, our bright lights to shine forth. Meister Eckhart, German mystic in the late 1200s, and he proclaimed the union of the individual soul is with God. And he wrote, the spiritual life is not a process of addition, but rather of subtraction, of letting go of those beliefs that no longer serve us. We came into this human experience as innocent souls knowing everything. We knew everything as babies. We knew it all. But years had been piling up on our headlights and making this film, which we are clearing away. Or as Indian mystic, guru, and spiritual teacher Osho said, drop the idea of becoming someone, because you are already a masterpiece. I love that. You are already a masterpiece. You cannot be improved. You have only to come to it, to know it, to realize it. So what would your life be if you really, really knew this? Perhaps something like this would happen. I have a little story. I've told it before, but I like the story, so I'm going to tell it again. There was this little boy who heard a lot about God in his Sunday school class, so he decided he wanted to meet God. One day he packed his lunch, a little bag with the two most important things for his journey to meet God, some Twinkies and a root beer. But we're in a different age now, so we'll make that a healthier version. He took his organic juice and his carrot sticks. He walked for about 3 blocks to a park and thought, well, maybe I'll find God here. He looked around and there was only one person in the park, and this elderly woman was sitting at the end of a bench. So he went over and sat on the other end of the bench. He waited for a while, and she was just looking at the birds and the pigeons and the squirrels, just sitting there, very content. So pretty soon he opened up his bag and pulled a carrot out, and he began eating it. As he was eating it, he thought, I wonder if she would like a carrot. So he pulled out a second carrot and handed it to the woman, and she just smiled so sweetly at him. She took it and was grateful in that smile. A little later, he decided to have another carrot, and he offered another one to her, which she took and smiled at him. Pretty soon, he opened his juice because he got really thirsty. And he thought, well, maybe she's thirsty too. And so he shared his other juice box with the lady. And She took that box and she had a big, huge smile on her face. And they sat there almost 3 hours, eating their carrots, drinking the juice, watching the birds and feeding the squirrels and the pigeons. And eventually it started to get dark. So the little boy gathered up all of his belongings and began to leave, and he turned around and gave her a really big hug. She hugged him right back and flashed him this huge, big smile, and he went home, where the interesting thing is not a word had been exchanged between the two. When the little boy got home, his mother said, "Where have you been today?" And he said, "Well, I went to the park and I met God." And you know what? She has a great big smile. And about that same time, the elderly woman entered her home where she lived with her adult son and said, he said, "Mom, you were gone a long while. What happened?" And she said, "I was in the park today and I met God. And you know what? He's a whole lot younger than I would have thought." As me, each and every one of us. Remember, there's no age in the divine. There's no age in God. There's no age. There is only the essence of pure consciousness. That is what is in the divine. Pure consciousness, which is everything. Everything. So, my friends, I don't know. I will ask, how about you? How about you? Are you ready to awaken to your good? Yes. To your good for this year? Yes. It's been sung about today, yes. I think we are. And one of the sacred practices here is visioning. And we're going to have that experience in a minute. And we will be visioning on these 4 questions, although I'm going to put it into one question. And by the way, you all have the visioning sheet inside your bulletin. And you should have gotten a pen from the ushers when you came in. If you don't, just raise your hand and Kathleen will give you one. But everyone should have got a pen. You have your papers. And these are the questions we're going to be visioning on. This is all of it, but you don't have to write this. The meaning, true meaning of being fully awake and present that we have right now. Fully awake and present to who you are in every moment. Fully awake and present to what brings you joy here and now. Fully awake and present to the life you are creating through every thought you think, every emotion you feel, every word you speak, and fully awake and present to the divine grace. So let's just take a really nice deep breath together. This will be a short visioning. We're not going to do the whole long thing, but we're going to get enough in. And I invite you, when you get home, if more comes to you, add it to this sheet. This is your year of 2024. A whole lot more. A whole lot more. So much good in 2024. So we just relax in that breath. And when things come to you after the question, just write them down on your paper. You can elaborate later. And if you're at home, you can get a piece of paper, a sheet of paper, and you can write these visioning questions. What would life be like if you were fully awake to all the good that Spirit, Universe, God has for you in 2024? What would your life be like? What would it look like? Feel like? Sound like? Take a moment. This is your year, 2024. How awake are you? How much good allowing in. What qualities of God would you embody, express, if you fully live this vision? What qualities of God, of you? Open up to it. Released so you can experience these qualities. What within you needs to be released and go on? Self-doubt, any self-judgment, any fear or lack needs to be let go. And that brings us to our last question. What else do I need to know? So this vision is what I experienced this year. It's beautiful, brand new year. What else do I need to know? You can elaborate on this when you get home, but I would like to finish it with a spiritual mind treatment with affirmative prayer. So again, to take a lovely, beautiful, gorgeous, deep breath with me. As we deepen into this atmosphere of openness, of allowing, of fully being conscious of the loving energy that is always present. As we move through and to and in this new year, we allow the infinite potential to flood our being, to lift us up when sometimes we feel we cannot get up alone. It is that presence that is eternal, that is always there, that can go nowhere because we are part of this consciousness, this infinite wave of possibilities, which is always moving. There is no stagnation in God. There is no stagnation in us. As we let go of that which does not serve us, and we move into this atmosphere of accepting the good, of awakening to the good, of being so joyful and so grateful that this good is part of our life. We might not have really fully known it before, but it is always there. It is the only truth that exists. There is nothing besides this consciousness of oneness, this infinite flow of beauty in our lives. That's it. That's everything. How grateful our hearts should be dancing with joy for this incredible gift of awakening up to the beauty that is the truth of our very being. That incredible energy of love. That's who we are. And that's who we move into more of, because there's always more in 2024. There always will be more. This is the wave of consciousness. This is the infinite flow. And we are all there. We give thanks for that. We give such thanks for that, and we let it be, knowing it is done, it is so, and so it is.
So it is.
Stay in that consciousness, except for Michael.